I want to talk to you about the single scene environment within IronCAD and how this has huge advantages over the other CAD packages out on the marketplace that can only design in single part or pseudo part assembly mode. Within IronCAD it is a true single scene. Within that single scene we have multiple parts, multiple assemblies, or a single part or assembly, it doesn't really matter. But when we're designing and putting something together, then we can add the parts into our assembly and use the existing geometry to create that part, which means that you don't have lots of toing and froing between parts and assemblies, and you get it right first time. As a speed advantage, this gives you huge speed advantage over any of our competitors with the ability to work within this assembly, and I shall now show you how and what we mean by that. And this is a feature that within IronCAD we take for granted because we're so used to doing it, but a lot of people when they see it are quite surprised at the speed with which we can work. So I'm going to make a T-piece. I'm going to snap to the geometry. You can see I'm snapping to this geometry here. I'm dropping in a new part. You can see I've got a new part there. I'm just going to rename that. I'm just going to call that T-pipe. And I can now go down into the IntelliShape level and I can start changing that geometry around. So I can then bring this one down and I can say I'll make that say 56. And it's 40 millimeters diameter. I actually want it to be 34, so I'll put it at 34. And I think I'll put a chamfer on that. I'll just add on a quick chamfer. I said it, leave it at the default 2 millimeters, and there we've got that. But obviously that's a solid piece of metal. We need to put a hole through the middle of that. So what we will do is we just drag out and drop in a hole, and then we'll just snap the geometry, and we'll say, well, let's snap to the end of that piece we just created, and we'll move it out and we'll make it say 27 millimeters. And there we have it. So we've got our part, and now what we need to do is join this part up to that tube there. Well, how would we do that? Very simple. We just drag in another cylinder, drop it onto there. This tells me, because I'm working on a small part, that I need to make it smaller so it doesn't swamp the screen. I say yes, and there we have our part, and you can see I can drag it around anywhere on the surface, even on the top here, and you can see it goes at an angle like that, and I can go on the inner surface, so I can put it anywhere I like on that surface. I just drop it down there. Now I want to put this cylinder, a new part added to that, into that tube. So what I will do is I'll just put on the tribal. And the tribal is a fantastic tool. It helps you work within the IronCAD scene to move geometry and shapes around. So I'm just going to say I'm going to snap to the center point of that, and I'm going to just take that and I'm going to put the orientation in that direction, turn off the tribal, and say I want to snap to a point, and I'm just going to choose that point there, and I'm just going to snap to that point there. Now obviously it's not long enough. I just grab the geometry, pull it out to there and specify 72 millimeters. But while I've got it in that shape, I want this one to be a tube. I have another way of doing that. I can right click, I can go in and edit the IntelliShape properties, and I'm going to say I'm going to make it a shell. I'm going to have it 1 millimeter thick. I'm going to open the start and end, and there you can see that I've got that tube, and it's hollow all the way through, but obviously not at the top there. Well, we will correct that, but let's just blend some edges. Just select that edge there. Let's rotate this one round. Pick that edge, and let's no, I'll leave that one like that. Okay. Now, as you can see, obviously I've put this in the wrong orientation. What I needed to do was actually applied that hole there at a different time in the history tree. That's fine. It's so easy with IronCAD. We just drag and drop that down to that point there, and there you can see we've now got our hole all the way through, and we're pretty much done on designing that path. What we can do is we can just make sure everything is okay. So if I actually select the part, and I can go and have a look at a section part of that, choose the orientation plane. Yep, that looks correct. I will then pick the point, which I'll just choose there, and I think I'll swap. Let me just rotate that round. Yep, just say OK. And there you can see, that I actually need to change the hole diameter to be a bit slightly larger so that it fits on this pipe. Not a problem. So because we're working within a design assembly, we can easily go back in and change that. So all we need to do is select that, and we will then snap to that edge there, and that's 28 millimeters, and say OK. And let's just go back and make sure that everything is right. And now you can see that we've actually put the tube directly over that hole. So that is an example on how easy it is to create and work within a single scene. This is a first part of a 3-part series of videos. Come back, have a look at part 2, where I'll show you how we can create a connecting pipe from there to there. Look forward to seeing you then.